found the house, you made the offer, the seller said yes, your agent called you and said those magic words, "We're under contract." And for about 45 minutes, everything felt amazing. And then anxiety crept back in because somewhere in the back of your mind, you know it's not quite done. And you're right, it's not. And what happens between accepted offer and the moment someone hands you your key is the part of the process that most buyers know the least about. And it's also the part where the deal has a propensity to fall apart. Money can get lost, buyers end up blindsided by things nobody bothered to explain. So that's what we're doing today. By the end of this video, you are going to know exactly what under contract means, every major milestone between now and closing day, and the red flags that should put you on high alert, and the specific questions you need to be asking your agent right now if you're currently under contract or about to be. So I've been through enough transactions to tell you that the under contract period is where the real work happens, and where buyers who aren't paying attention actually get hurt, unfortunately. Not because anyone is trying to take advantage of them, but because the process moves fast and deadlines are real, and the protections you have are only as good as your ability to use them correctly and on time. So let's walk through this together step by step, the way I'd explain it to someone sitting across the table like we are now. So the moment your offer is accepted and both parties have signed, you are officially under contract. And in different states, it means different things. But in Nevada, the purchase agreement, whether it's an LVR contract, which is, Las Vegas Realtors, is now a legally binding document. That means that both you and the seller have obligations. The seller can't turn around and just accept a better offer that comes in tomorrow. And you can't just walk away without consequences unless you have an active contingency that protects you. So this is the first thing to understand. Being under contract does not mean that you're locked in with no options. It actually means quite the opposite. It means your options are now defined by the contract that you signed, and each one has an expiration date. So let's talk about those. First, let's talk about earnest money, because this is the first thing that happens after acceptance, and it's buyers sometimes don't fully understand what the earnest money does. So your earnest money deposit, often called your EMD, is a sum of money, typically 1 to 3% of the purchase price, that you would wire into escrow within a few days of acceptance, whatever's written into the contract. So right now on a $400,000 home, you're typically looking at somewhere between $4,000 and $12,000 going into escrow almost immediately. And this money is yours as long as you cancel the contract correctly within an active contingency period in writing. If you back out of the deal without a valid active contingency to protect you, that money can go to the seller. So think of it this way. The earnest money is your way of telling the seller, I'm serious. And the contingents are there to protect yourself if something goes wrong. And the deadlines are the clock that those protections run on. So if you miss a deadline, the protection can disappear, even if the reason you want to cancel is completely legitimate. So let's walk through the main contingencies in a Nevada purchase agreement and what each one actually does for you. The first is your due diligence period. This is your chance to discover items of interest about the property. It's when inspections happen. You can ask for, say, estimated utility information, check your insurance rates for the property, drive by the home at various parts of the day looking for anything that would perhaps deter you from moving forward with the purchase. The inspection period is typically 7 to 12 days from the date of acceptance. So when you bring in your inspector, he or she will evaluate the physical condition of the property. And each state has its own unique qualifier for an inspector. So, for example, in Nevada, that inspector must be a Nevada licensed or certified professional. And that's actually written into our contract. In Utah, the inspector doesn't need to be licensed. So it's really important that you make sure that the inspector that you choose has a great track record for success. And if you're unsure on the licensure qualifications for the inspector, you can always just ask your agent. So what the inspection covers: the roof, the foundation, the HVAC system, plumbing, electrical, windows, and more. What it doesn't cover, the pool, unless you add that in, the roof by a specialist, mold, pests, those are separate inspections that you may want to add. And here's a red flag to watch for. If an inspector quotes you a price that seems unusually low, ask questions. A thorough inspection on a typical home should take 2 to 3 hours. Anyone in and out in, say, 45 minutes may not be doing the job as thoroughly as you would like. So once the inspection is done, you receive a report, and then you deliver your written request to the seller. The seller can agree to fix the items, offer you a credit, or decline entirely. And if you can't reach an agreement between the parties before the due diligence deadline expires, you have a decision to make, and it needs to be made in writing before the clock runs out. You can choose to cancel the contract or proceed as is based on those negotiations. So another major contingency is your financial contingency, financing contingency. This one protects you if your loan falls through after you're under contract. And here's something that surprises a lot of buyers. Getting pre-approved before you made the offer does not mean that your loan is guaranteed. A lot can happen between the pre-approval and closing. The lender still has to verify your income, your employment, your assets, your debt, and order an appraisal. So any one of these things can create a roadblock, a hiccup. You could get pre-approved in April and then charge a large purchase on your credit card in May, which changes your debt to income ratio enough to affect your loan. It can be as simple as that, and it happens. So the financing contingency is typically active for, say, 20, 25 days, and it protects you if your financing generally falls through. You can't exit the contract and recover your earnest money. So red flag: if anyone pressures you to waive your financing contingency before your loan is officially approved, that is a significant risk for you. Your agent should be pushing back on that. The last major contingency is your appraisal contingency. And this one is separate from your financing contingency. The appraisal contingency exists in areas like Nevada, but not in other areas of the country. The appraisal contingency typically, say, 14 to 21 days. And here's what it does. After you're under contract, your lender orders an independent appraisal to confirm that the home is actually worth what you agreed to pay. And this protects you. So in this market with prices where they are, appraisals coming in low is a real conversation. So if the home appraises for less than your purchase price, say you agreed to purchase the home for $450,000 and it appraises for $440,000, there's now a $10,000 gap. So with an active appraisal contingency, you can renegotiate the price with the seller. You could, one, add extra $10,000 to your closing costs to cover the gap and move forward with the purchase. Two, cancel the contract and get your earnest money back. Or three, negotiate with the seller to meet somewhere in the middle at a new price and potentially new contract terms, depending on how the negotiations go. So without that appraisal contingency, you're on the hook for that gap if you lose, and you can lose your deposit if you cancel. So before you write an offer, be sure to ask your agent, what is the realistic risk of this home appraising at this value? So there are other contingencies written in the contracts, but many of them depend on the specifics of an individual home. So be sure the lines of communication are open with you and your agent so you know your rights. Beyond the contingencies, there are things happening during this period that buyers often don't think about, but absolutely should. So your title company is conducting a title search, and they're looking at the full history of ownership on that property to make sure that no one else has a claim to it. Liens from previous owners, boundary disputes, unpaid contractor bills, these are all real things that can cloud a title and complicate your closing. So this is also the time to review your title insurance options. Your lender will require a lender's title insurance policy, but that policy protects the bank, not you. An owner's title policy insurance protects you, and it's not required, but if something surfaces with the title after you close without an owner's title policy, you're actually dealing with it and paying for it yourself, so highly recommended. You should also be reviewing the seller's disclosures during this period. In many states, sellers are required by law to disclose material known facts, and that duty cannot be waived under any circumstances, even if it's, say, an as-is sale. Read this document carefully. If a seller discloses that there is a previous roof leak and it was previously repaired, request that documentation. If there are multiple unknown items on a home that they've lived in for 10 years, that's a red flag. Something on the disclosure doesn't match what you saw during the showing. Maybe a crack that wasn't mentioned, a system that seems to have issues. Bring it up with your agent immediately and ask questions. It's okay to ask questions. Your due diligence period is the right time to push on those disclosure questions, because you want to be sure you want to move forward with the property. So if you're going under contract right now, write down these questions and ask your agent before you sign anything. First, what are all my contingency deadlines, and what do I lose if each one passes? Number two, if the inspection turns up something significant, what are my options? Third, what is the appraisal risk on this particular home, given what we're offering, run comps, that sort of thing. After your offer is accepted, ask, has the title company flagged anything in the title search? And you should be getting the prelim. And walk me through the seller disclosures with me. Is there anything here that needs follow-up? A good agent proactively walks through every one of these with you and without being asked. So if you have to drag the information out, that's worth paying attention to also. Being under contract is exciting. It should be. You're so close, but close isn't done. And the buyers who get to closing day without surprises are the ones who stay engaged, asked the right questions, and understood what their contingencies actually meant, and that they were a protection and it just wasn't a formality. So now you know what most buyers in this market don't until something possibly goes wrong. Save this, follow along, and keep coming back, because in real estate, what you don't know can cost you, and that's not okay with us. If you're navigating this process in Nevada, Utah, or Idaho, and you want someone in your corner who will actually walk you through every step, send us a DM. We're here to help.